Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head up to Norway once again for the first time in what feels like a good long while. So we're going to return to a brewery that's featured on the channel once before. The last beer that I had from these guys was very nice, and the one that we're going to have a look at today is a similar style, but it's a different sub-style. And if memory serves me correctly, I have not reviewed an example of this sub-style for you on the channel before. So this should be really quite interesting. But nice to return to Norway once again. Cool to try another beer from this brewery. Hopefully it's another good one, and hopefully you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. So let's see what we have. For this review then, we are going to head to Stavanger, and we're going to have a look at another beer from Salikatt Bryggeri. So this particular beer is called Hypercube. It comes in at 12% ABV, and this one is a New England Hazy Imperial Quadruple, whatever you want to call it, IPA. Regardless, this beer is going to be a little bit of a monster. So yeah, I bought this beer at Kiosk over in Copenhagen, and they did have a few Salikatt things, but this one was the best rated, and it just kind of caught my eye. The last beer, of course, that I had from these guys, I believe, was called Laws of Motion, and I was very, very impressed with that. This is one of the Norwegian breweries that I had been meaning to check out for quite a wee while, and the first review that I did from them certainly did not disappoint. So yeah, curious to see what this one is going to have in store for us. Let's get cracking and see what we have. So, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Salikatt before, and we will hopefully add more to that list in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support you give the channel is hugely, hugely appreciated, and you can of course check out the lists of beers from different countries, and you will find this one in the Norwegian playlist, and hopefully we can add more to that in the future as well. But anyway, on to my brewery notes then, to tell you a little bit about Salikatt Bryggeri then. So, as I've mentioned to you already, Salikatt Bryggeri are based in Stavanger, and the company was founded back in 2015 by Bjarte Halvorsen along with his wife Tonje. So Bjarte is a long-time home brewer, and he trained as a mechanical engineer at NTNU, which is the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, but eventually his hobby took over his time and he became a professional brewer. So he worked at a number of breweries across Norway from about 2013, which included Lervig, Torn, Bakke and then Keen. But to fund the brewery, Bjarte and his wife sold their house, and pretty much all of the money from this actually went into building up the brewery. And apparently all they had left actually was his wife's bunad, which is the Norwegian traditional dress. You know, they do graduations and things like that wearing this type of traditional dress. But the brewery itself is based in Hillevåg in the south of the city, and they started brewing in this facility back in 2016. But in the years since, they've continued to grow, and in 2017 they produced around 30,000 litres, and then about 45,000 in 2018, which was also the first year that they turned a profit. But that year they also opened up their on-site bar, and they also had Alexander Idlund join the brewing team, and it's continued to grow ever since then. But the name Salikatt actually comes from a local curse word in the Norwegian language that can be used both to express anger or irritation, but it can also be a pleasant surprise as well. But as of September 22, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced about 150 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and they are one of the best and most highly regarded New England Hazy IPA breweries up there in Norway. There are some very, very good breweries coming out of Norway, but these guys are one of the ones that are getting a lot of hype just now, just really because of how much attention the New England IPA style is getting. But these guys are very, very good at what they do. I've tried a number of their beers on tap, and I've been very, very impressed with them. But yeah, the main reason behind choosing this one was just the fact that I know this brewery are good. I hadn't done a Norwegian beer in a while, and it was the chance to review my first Quadruple New England IPA, so hopefully it's a good one. But yeah, that is everything I can tell you about Salikatt Bryggeri just now. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the other reviews that I've done from these guys already. So yeah, let's crack on then and have a little look at the beer itself. So as you can see, this one has the kind of typical artwork that you'll find from Salikatt. Usually their beers have this kind of background with the silver S or white S or whatever in the middle. But there you can see Hypercube, a New England Quadruple IPA. There's this little bit of art on the back here as well, which is good. It is a 440 milliliter can, this one, and it says on the side here, Hypercube is our attempt to bring IPA to the fourth dimension. This IPA is probably as big and intense as our IPAs ever will be, brewed with light coloured malts, oats, and seriously dry hopped with Citra, Azacca, and Victoria's Secret. So yeah, we know all of these hops quite well. Citra and Azacca, both of course American, 14% alpha acid, whereas Victoria's Secret comes from Australia, and that is about 12% alpha acid, if memory serves me correctly. Citra's going to give you big, juicy kind of mango notes along with a good bit of lemon and lime. Azacca's going to give you quite a juicy tangerine note, but also a lot of pineapple, if memory serves me correctly. And Victoria's Secret is going to give you passion fruit, mango, and again a wee bit of pineapple and things. So yeah, this should be quite nice. I can't remember exactly what I paid for this one. I want to say it was 60 Danish krona, so that is going to be somewhere in the region of 80 Swedish, so about €8, somewhere in the region of like £7 sterling in that case, and about $9 American for the can. So for a 12% New England Quadruple, I don't think that's too bad, especially when you consider it's brewed in Norway, the price of the labour costs and all of these kind of things that go in that up there. It is a very expensive country from that perspective. If you're importing stuff from Norway, it is naturally going to be expensive because of the strength of the economy there. But yeah, plain silver top on the can there. Let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. The Hypercube New England Hazy Imperial Quadruple, whatever you want to call it, IPA, from Salikatt in Stavanger up in Norway. Just going to be careful with this so that it doesn't explode, and it seems to be okay. I think there was just a wee bit of a gas build up there. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a night ending beer, this one. This is going to be sipped as we watch a film. And as I say, I've never tried a New England Quadruple before. I've had a few triples and found them a bit heavy going, I have to say. I think for me, when it comes to the triple IPAs, I would prefer the West Coast ones. So I've only tried a couple of the New Englands, but we'll see how we get on with a quadruple. So this is the first quadruple IPA of any kind, I believe, I've actually tasted for you, tasted here on the channel. So yeah, this should be very interesting. But anyway, we've got maybe about 90% of the beer poured out of the can. So let's have a look at this. So as you can see, the beer itself has poured with about a half finger of a frothy, I would say slightly cream coloured head. That is fading away to just be a very thin foamy layer. And you can see with this one, that has a very nice kind of small, it has lots of small bubbles in the head. There are a few bumpier ones toward the top, but it certainly looks very, very nice. Appearance-wise, this one gives you everything that you would expect from any New England. You've got a lovely bright, I would say I think this is more of a kind of mango juice colour, this one. It's got a lovely kind of bright yellow colour to it. I'm not sure how it's appearing to you on the camera, because I'm filming this one in the evening, so we don't have the same level of light outside. But to my naked eye, it is more along the lines of a kind of mango juice colour, this beer, which I think is very, very good. But one or two big bubbles sticking toward the side of the glass, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of that head there. But overall, it does look pretty nice. But remember, the colour of your beer depends on the type of malts that you put in. The length of your wort boil is also going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugar's caramelised, thus you get a darker colour of beer. Any barrel aging that you do or any adjuncts that you put in will affect the colour of the beer as well, but you don't often have to care about that when it comes to New England's. The level of haze on this one, this is pretty damn opaque. Remember, the level of haze depends on the oat content, wheat content, and the yeast that you use. It doesn't depend on how much of oat or wheat is in the... It doesn't depend on whether it's a single, double, triple, quadruple, whatever. That can vary from beer to beer and brewery to brewery, but the level of haze you have in this one is pretty damn impressive, and to be honest, you would kind of expect that from a quadruple IPA. But other than that, I don't think we need to say anything about the appearance of this one, so let's take a closer look at the aroma and see what we have. Yeah, I'm going to say with this one, this is quite interesting, because the aroma, it's very, very juicy, but it's not madly pungent, and that's very, very interesting, I have to say. So you can just tell that this beer is going to be an absolute monster when you actually go to taste it. But I don't think the aroma is all that crazy, to be honest with you. But what I have found with the Salikatt beers when I've tried them is that they do tend to be kind of juice bombs. They tend to be very creamy smooth, but just light and juicy at the same time. So I'm curious to see how that translates into the Quadruple New England. But yeah, when you sugar this beer up, it's interesting. As I've told you before in videos, I think there's 6 different aspects to consider with a New England. The sort of farmhousey, yeasty character, any riling and grainy sort of things. Those are a bit more common in American brewed New Englands. But then you've got wheaty bitiness, oaty creaminess, barley malt bread, and also the kind of sweet side of these beers as well. So yeah, with this one, this is quite interesting. The first impression, as I say, it's quite creamy and oaty, but it's also very kind of soft and juicy. Typical traits of Salikatt. The green component's quite mild, actually. But if we dig a little bit deeper into this one, I'm actually just curious as to whether this has got a bit of lactose in it, because it smells very, very creamy. No lactose listed on this one. That's interesting. But yeah, this beer just smells extremely creamy, this one. So backbone of the beer, you do have a little bit of that kind of fresh bread crust to it, but it's got a lot. You get a little bit of the kind of barley malt bread, but this beer to me really, really leans toward the wheat, and it's a very smooth wheat that you get out of this one. It's not too bitey or anything like that. It is more smooth rather than anything else, but there's a hell of a lot of oaty creaminess to this one, and it's almost just straight up porridge, if you like. You've almost got just that kind of straight up oats and milk kind of character to this one in the malt base. I do get a little, if I sugar it up a little bit more, I do get a little bit of sweetness to it. And this beer is very fresh. As I've said to you in other reviews with New Englands as well, the creamier the oats come across as being, usually the fresher your beer is. So with this one, it's the oats are straight up kind of porridge. So it's you know, it's that big smooth creamy porridgey character you get out of this one, which just lingers there, and it is very, very nice, as I've said. Yeah. So yeah, the malt bait, this one's quite kind of straight shooting, but I do wonder if this is one of these beers that it's going to be a lot more complex in the flavour than the aroma, because the aroma doesn't jump out the glass with this one, which I was a bit surprised about, to be honest with you, when you consider the sheer strength of this beer. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, actually. But yeah, interesting stuff. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else to say about the malty side of the beer in that sense. Yeah, you get a little bit of cracker out of it. You do get 1 or 2 little farmhousey yeast, but yeah, bit of bread crust, a little bit of white bread. You can smell the wheat thickening it out, but it really leans toward that oaty creamy side of thing. A little bit of a butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing, but I think we'll get more out of the flavour with this one. Green component, it really is more, it's got a good bit of grassiness to it and a little bit of zestiness. There's a wee bit of floral character in there, and a teeny bit of earthiness, but just not a lot. The green component, again, I don't find overly pungent with this one. And I know this beer is fresh. I think when I got it from Kiosk, it had only been in for about a week and a bit. I got one of the last cans of this, actually. It was a very new arrival. But yeah, I'm just surprised at how humble, I guess we could say, the aroma of this one is. When it comes to the fruity side of the beer, it's what you would expect from these hops. There is a little bit of passion fruit in there, but there's a hell of a lot of mango. That's the Victoria's Secret, and the Citra coming out of it. Yeah, big juicy mango. There's certainly a little bit of an apricot note underneath. Good bit of pineapple as well. I get a lot of big juicy pineapple in this one, and that's the Azaka and the Victoria's Secret's going to give you that. Citra may well contribute to that a wee bit, but yeah, lots of juicy mango, lots of pineapple for me. There is a bit of that juicier apricot underneath, and there is just a wee hint of a kind of quite bright juicy orange as well, actually. Apologies for the edit there, guys. Camera ran out of memory, so yeah, just had to change things around very quickly. But as I was saying, Citra isn't really showing its more lemony, limey kind of character in this one, which is quite interesting. So yeah, we'll see how this goes in terms of the flavour. I think it is about time that we taste this beer then. So yeah, let's do this. As I always say, though, take a bit of time to ponder over the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But yeah, this one is the Hypercube, a New England Hazy Imperial Quadruple, whatever you want to call it, IPA from Salikatt Bryggeri in Stavanger in Norway. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål, cheers. My very first taste ever of a Quadruple IPA of any description. Let's do this. Now, I'm going to say straight away, that is very, very good. Yeah, it is. It's kind of interesting because I was expecting this beer to have a little bit more kind of bite and zip to it. I thought this was going to be one of these ones where the aroma was quite, reserved and humble, but the beer was just going to be like bang. But this is one of these ones. It's one of these New England IPAs where it's just so smooth and so easy to drink. It's that's its charm. It's one of these big, thick, juicy, creamy New England IPAs, and I kind of remember the last one we had from Salikatt being very, very similar. It was just so smooth and so nicely done, and this one kind of follows suit with that. For a 12%er, that hides its alcohol incredibly well, and it is just a really beautiful beer, this one, I have to say. So again, it's a massive thumbs up to Salikatt. Yeah, it's one of the interesting things. My very first taste of a Quadruple New England IPA, I expected it to be quite punchy, but it's actually one of these really mellow and just really nice beers. You could sit and sip on this and just enjoy the creaminess and the fruitiness that it has. This one really is a very oat heavy New England IPA, and it's just one of these smooth, juicy things. Yeah, I like this. This is definitely worth trying if you get the chance. Salikatt really know what they're doing, and having tasted a second beer from them and a few of them on tap, you really get the idea of what these guys are all about. They're very creamy, they're very smooth, just easy going New England IPAs, but beautifully crafted. So yeah, try this one, Hypercube. Awesome, awesome beer. Yeah. I mean, it does have a wee bit of zip to it, but the thing is, having reviewed so many, doubles, double IPAs and things over the years, this one, in a sense, the kind of booziness and hit you get from this, it is kind of like what I used to get from, a double West Coast IPA back in the day, the when I first tried a hardcore IPA from Brewdog. This one does have a little bit of that hit to it, so it just kind of shows you how your palate progresses as the years go on. But like I say, it's just such an easy drinking beer. Let's kind of break this down a wee bit and just describe what's going on. But yeah, this one is kind of giving me the same sort of impact as trying my first New England double did back in the day. This one has, you can feel a bit of the booziness in this, you can feel that it's just a bit stronger and a bit more punchy, but it's just, as I say, it's a beautifully done beer. There probably are punchier New England quadruples out there, but it's yeah, the Salikatt smoothness and juiciness I really, really do enjoy. I can see why this is such a highly rated brewery. But let's break this down anyway. So middle third of your palate with this one, you get a little bit of that fresh kind of fresh white bread, hedgehog bread crust there. That forms the backbone of the beer. On top of that, there's definitely some sort of nice fluffy white bread from the barley malt in there. You can feel the wheat sitting on top of that, and the wheat is kind of smoothing the whole thing out, if you like. But then there's a definite distinction between the wheat and the oats in this one. So you've got that lovely big dense creamy oaty layer coming out of the beer. So yeah, and like I say, that's where this beer really leans toward. It really leans toward that big thick oaty creamy sort of thing, and you can feel that with this one. This is very, very fresh. As I've always said, the oaty, when you get the oats, the creamier they are, the fresher your beer is. And you can really, really get that with this one. We'll just see if there's any more kind of thickness to this. Put the last of it in, because you might have had a little bit of sediment with it. You never know. So let's just take another wee taste. Nah, pretty much the same, to be honest. But yeah, the oaty layer in this one is just lovely and creamy. If you go down the middle line of your tongue, you can feel it's just got that lovely kind of note to it, and then there is a little bit of an almost kind of porridgey, oaty character there. It's like you've got down the middle line of your tongue, it's quite just thick and creamy, then there's a wee bit of a porridgey bit on the outside, but then yeah, as you go out toward the edges of your palate, you can feel the oats get very, very slightly dry and show a little bit of their sweeter side. As I said earlier, this beer really covers its alcohol very, very well, but in the dead centre of your palate, there is a little circle there, and you get a hint of that kind of butter candy, butterscotchy thing. And when this is a big 12% monster, you know, it's not surprising that it does show a little bit of its sweetness. But like I say, it covers it very, very well. This beer is predominantly an oaty, creamy New England IPA, and Salikatt, in that regard, Salikatt are one of the best around, in my opinion. So yeah, on the back third of the palate, and I think we've said everything we really need to say about the middle third of the palate with this beer. It's actually very, very straight shooting. It's one of these beers that isn't madly complex, it's just well done. But on the border region between middle third and back third of your palate, you get a little bit of bready build up there. Again, at the back third of your palate, you've got a wee bit more, the base of the kind of bread crust is a little touch more grainy. You can feel that the kind of barley malt, soft, fluffy white bread layer is a little bit more kind of taller and things, but then yeah, you can feel a little touch of bitiness from the wheat, but then on top of the wheaty layer, you've got a more airy, kind of yeasty sort of thing to it, which I do enjoy. So yeah, that is quite nice too. The airy, yeasty kind of note with this goes very well. But as I say, the wheaty, I think the more you drink of this beer, the wheatiness comes out a little bit more, the oaty creaminess, and it does get slightly sweeter, I think, actually, as well. Yeah, it's interesting, this one. As I say, for me drinking this now, it's like when I first tried a West Coast double IPA back in the day, you know, the hardcore IPA from Brewdog, and it's then, you know, in a way it's kind of like when I first tried a New England, getting used to the thickness and stuff like that. This beer is having a similar impact to me now, in a relative sense, if that at all makes sense to you guys that are watching the video. But I think honestly, other than to say the back third of the palate, you can feel the flavour is just taller. Then as you come further forward, it just squashes together that little bit more. I think that's everything we need to say about the malty side of the beer. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you get a little bit of earthiness in there, but then as you move further forward, it actually gives you quite a nice, bright, floral character. It's not spicy until you get to the very front corners of the palate, where it does show you a wee bit of spiciness, but around the front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy. The grassiness doesn't even have a zestiness to it. It's a little bit kind of wetter, I would say, but yeah, it works. It really does work quite nicely. The green component of this one is actually quite subtle. Remember, these New England IPAs rely mainly on late addition hopping and dry hopping. West Coast IPAs also have early addition hopping. If we're talking early addition hopping, usually the first hour of the wort boil, that gives you mainly your bitterness. Late addition hopping gives you a little bit of bitterness, but mainly flavour and aroma. And then dry hopping is completely to do with the flavour and aroma. And New England's use the latter two, West Coasts also use the early addition hopping to give you that big bitterness. But the hoppy character in this one, this beer really isn't that bitter at all when I think about it. But yeah, I think that covers the green component. You do get a little bit more floral character out of it the further you go into the aftertaste, but again, this is one of these beers that just goes about its business kind of subtly. But yeah, on the fruity side of things then, the front third of your palate, so border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get a little bit of bready build up there once again, but you can feel it's the oats that are just forming the base of that front third of your palate, and it does go together very, very nicely in that sense. On top of that, you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer, and like I said, this beer is very tropical fruit leaning. So let's just look at that. Yeah, at the back of that front third of your palate, there is a wee bit of a stronger passion fruit there, but when you move forward, that very, very quickly mellows out. It very quickly mellows out to give you this big, juicy mango note, and it's not a ripe mango. It's not ripe and almost kind of green like guava can be. It's just very, very juicy. But as you move further forward, from that, there's a little bit of a kind of apricot-y note in there. You can feel a bit of a dry apricot and a little bit of papaya underneath. But as you reach the middle of the palate, the beer really moves to be more kind of pineapple, and it's the Azacca. It's the Azacca and the Victoria's Secret that are going to give you that big pineapple note, but the mango is going to be more to do with the Citra, I would say, and potentially the Victoria's Secret as well. But yeah, as you move into the front half of that front third of your tongue, you actually get quite a bright tangerine orange coming out of it. Azacca gives you that lovely kind of almost mandarin-y quality. As I say, as I was noticing with the aroma, the Citra doesn't give you so much of its kind of lemon limey qualities in this beer. There is a little bit of it there just mixing in with the grassy esters on the front tip of the tongue. But yeah, Citra really takes a bit of a back seat, I think, to the Victoria's Secret and the Azacca in this one. It really is interesting that. But yeah, this beer really leans toward that soft tropical note. But I would say the further you go into the aftertaste, a bit more of the orangey, mandarin-y side of the Azacca comes out. But a lot of mango, a lot of pineapple, and a lot of bright orange. But yeah, there are wee notes of apricots and papayas, a little bit of drier tropical fruit in there as well. But I think that's everything we need to say about the kind of fruity side of this beer, to be quite honest with you. But overall, it is a beautifully, beautifully done beer, and I would, if you get a chance to try this, or a triple or quadruple IPA from Salikatt, you are not going to be disappointed with these beers, and in my experience so far, they are quite oaty leaning New England IPA. So if you like the old school kind of treehouse things, then this is one that's going to stick in the memory for you, I would say. But beautiful, beautiful beer that. So again, thumbs up to Salikatt. Let's round off this review then with a wee look at the mouthfeel. So yeah, mouthfeel wise, for me, this beer, it's kind of middle of the road, full bodied. It's certainly not the thickest beer I've come across, but in terms of New England IPAs, it really is pushing up there. And obviously, when I try more and more beers, this is going to change over time, because when you get used to a level of thickness, it doesn't feel as thick when you try it a year down the line or something like that. So we have to keep that in mind. But yeah, this is middle of the road, full bodied. Carbonation is very, very smooth. As I say, it's a very oaty, kind of creamy leaning New England IPA. This one, it's absolutely lovely. Yeah, in terms of the kind of IBUs and things like that, I think this is a standard 25-30 IBU beer, this one. I don't find this overly bitter at all. You get a little bit of bitterness the further into the aftertaste. I could be convinced that at a max it's 40, but I think it's a standard 25 or 30 IBU beer, this one. The malt base is beautiful, as we said. It's very thick and kind of oaty leaning. There is a bit of wheaty bitiness there and a touch of sweetness. But yeah, the fruity side of this one, lovely and juicy tropical fruits, but with a little bit of a more kind of citrusy, orangey kind of thing. So yeah, I like how this one goes together. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This was a beautiful, beautiful beer. I don't regret trying my first New England quadruple. I tried one or two triples when they first started appearing and wasn't overly convinced, but I think, Salikatt have made me reconsider this. So yeah, do give me some quadruple and triple suggestions in the comment section below, and we'll see what we can have a look at. But yeah, beautiful beer, this one. I don't think we need to say any more about it. This is the Hypercube, a 12% New England quadruple IPA from Salikatt Bryggeri in Stavanger in Norway. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Salikatt. Give me some Norwegian brewery recommendations, and we will do some more reviews just very, very soon. Slange, skål, and cheers.